Okay, let's get going. Where the others can just join in as and when they come in. Yeah, but we kind of within 10 minutes over the starting time. Good evening to everyone and welcome. Those of you that still don't know me, my name is Yusuf Kunawalt. I'll obviously be your host this evening. Again, Elmin Kluter, thank you very much for that review last week. They've been very handy because I was quite under the cosh to get some stuff done on the work side. So thanks for that. It's always a toss-up between volleyball and work, you know. Hopefully all of you guys are keeping safe. We have, as I've mentioned, we have an exciting lineup this evening. But before I get to that, let's first just remind ourselves again why we are running these webinars. First, and the obvious reason is that we want to have a platform where we can obviously share knowledge. We also pick up from our predecessors that serve volleyball in this province to continue growing the game of volleyball and take it to all corners of province, including especially our rural areas. There's no other way but to grow the game from bottom up. Although the money comes from the top, we have to grow the game from the bottom up. That means getting volleyball to be vibrant at schools again, with well-run club structures where kids can then leave school and continue the volleyball journey nationally and internationally. Before I hand you over to the presenters, just a reminder again, I know we kind of got used to this already, but just to mute your mics while the presenters are presenting. Okay. The two topics tonight, the two topics will be presented this evening, and also sticking to our theme of the last 2 weeks, or last few weeks at least, where we will have a generic topic as well as a volleyball-specific topic this evening. Mr. Paul Hendricks will share some wisdom on the developing a champion mindset from community to country. And Mark Williams will talk to us about movement and serving in volleyball, which is the third basic skill acquisition in our series. Right, so let me just introduce to you our first presenter. Mr. Paul Hendricks has served many sport organizations. Just before I say that, welcome back, Mr. Paul Hendricks, who presented the topic, the holistic development of an athlete during our second webinar. So welcome back again, as
thank you
presenting this evening again. Mr. Paul Hendricks has served many sport organizations over many years, including National General Secretary of the United Schools Sport Association of South Africa, USASA, Executive Member of the National Coordinating Committee of for School Sport, Chairperson of South African Primary Schools Hockey, Chairperson of various policy, research and development subcommittees from local to national level, Chairman and holder of other portfolios for education, community recreation, sport and arts-based organizations, structures and activities. Founder and SGB member of the Western Cape Sports School. Founder and board member of the Western Cape Sport Academy, WCVA. Chairperson of the Provincial Coordinating Committee for School Sport. Chairperson of the research and writing team of the National Curriculum Statement Documents for Sport and Exercise Science. Trustee member for the Western Cape Department of Sport and Recreation's Rainbow Paper on Sport and Recreation. Tournament Director of the Confederation of Southern Africa School Sports Association for SASA Games. And also keynote speaker and holder of other portfolios for local to international workshops, seminars, conferences, tours, and research commissions. Paul is currently Director of the Sport Development Unit at the Department of Cultural Affairs and Sport, Western Cape Government. Paul also has a master's degree in education, specializing in educational psychology. Paul has coaching experience across multiple sports, including softball, hockey, football, and athletics. Paul has been awarded the DCAS Sport Legend Award. So on that note, I hand it over to Mr. Paul Hendricks.
Good evening, everybody. If you Okay, so my topic this evening is around developing a champion mindset from community and country, or from community to country. So what I'm going to do is to share with you some research that we've done. And as a consequence of that research, how we use different implementation strategies to look at how we can assist the community or assist the coaches and the athletes through from community to a national level, and looking at how we can create a champion mindset around that. So let me just take you to the first slide. So we're first going to look at the action research process that we went through. And in that action research process, we looked at the Western Cape Sports School and the experiences that we had there. So I'm just going to take you through a few of those experiences that we had there. And that was, we spent excessive amounts of funds and resources were spent on a small amount of recipients. Many athletes don't return to participate in their communities. Also, there was an artificial environment created. Some athletes lose interest in the code, and then artificial sense of belonging and identity. And many learners become arrogant when socializing in their communities. Remembering that we're talking around how we're busy developing the community and how we're busy developing the country using sport as a vehicle. So this was our experience at the sports school. And in our research, what we did was using those experiences at the sports school and using it in a similar set of circumstances within a community setting. So within a community setting, what we did was to look at a cluster of schools and saw what the experiences were at those cluster of schools. And you'll see later on as to how we had further research findings. In the cluster of schools, what we did was to look at a school like Lavendale High School with its surrounding primary schools and what came out of that. What we found in this set of circumstances, the athlete is a role model and central to community development. Funds are benefiting more recipients, resources are benefiting more recipients, club creation and further development, community supports athletes and club, learner develops an identity and a sense of belonging, and learners become proud of the area and the school, which we found that in our research generally, with the youth particularly, there was a lack of identity and a lack of a sense of belonging. So if you look at the difference between the two, you already can see the benefits of a multiple entity versus a singular entity like the sports school. So what were the research outcomes? We found that in both sets of circumstances, with regards to the academic outcomes, there was improved academic results, drop of absenteeism, drop of vandalism, and all the rest. When we looked at the single versus multiple entity development, we found that in the outcomes for the sports school, we looked at 8 education districts and what they contributed. That 8 education districts contributed 350 learners to one school. At that one school, which was the sports school, we developed 12 priority codes. And out of that 12 priority codes, there were 12 clubs developed. There were 350 high-performance athletes. There were 12 high-performance coaches. And the budget per annum was roughly, in rands and cents, 10 million rand. That's apart from vehicles and stuff that we used. In the neighborhood development program, what we had were 12 neighborhoods that contributed 24 schools. And if you look at that 24 schools, in the 12 neighborhoods, it gave you 216 schools that we were busy with in totality. That 216 schools, if we looked at each school having 1,000 learners, that gave us a total of 216,000 learners. We have 9 districts in the province that we work in. We have 16 priority codes in those districts. That gives us a total of 144 clubs. In that 144 clubs, if you look at the multiplications there, you'll see it's 1,152 high-performance athletes. If you have that with 3 age groups, you have 144 high-performance coaches. That is what we have in the neighborhood development, and that gives us also 10 million rand per annum. So if you look at what we got out of the neighborhood development as opposed to the sports school, you will see the same amount of money, but look at the return on investment that we got between the two. So what we did further was to look at a period of time over 8.25 years, and we measured it in hours. It comes to 2,574 hours later. This was the outcomes that we achieved also with regards to school and federation development, alignment of codes with federations, and you'll see all of the other things there. And under general, we looked at outcomes achieved was district school sport structures, provincial structures, and so on. When we looked at your school level development, the outcomes achieved, you'll see at the provincial and national level, you'll see that there was a creation of school teams, school-based participation, right through into international participation. And if you look at the federation side, what we, the outcomes achieved there was club creation, right down to international level also. Remembering that I'm talking all the time around what we're doing in the community and how we reach the national to international level through what we were doing. So that was the outcomes that we achieved. Our implementation process then from that point of the research, in our implementation process, I just want to look at the school level of intervention that we had. And that intervention was the range, was the ages from preschool right through to high school. So we looked at all the different age groups and how we approached that in terms of developing a champion mindset was that we recognize the difference between an active nation and a winning nation. And so how do we develop that winning mentality or that champion mentality in the learner or in the athlete at school? If you look at the active nation, the kid would participate in preschool activities, during school activities, after school activities, post-school activities. In the winning nation, the kid would participate in festivals, tournaments, sharp center activities, and high performance activities. Now, clearly you can see it's the same cohort of kids, but those that want to do it recreationally, they would fall under the active nation. Those that showed a bit of promise, they would move to the winning nation. And in that way, you start developing a champion mindset already. If somebody wants to move over to the winning nation, they have to work hard. They have to have a different attitude. At club level, what we looked at was how do we do club creation, get all the different mod centers and schools in the area, start developing a club from that position with the community. And the champion mindset that we looked at was, and this particularly is a slide of interest to me, where we look at within a club, and generally we have in our clubs, everybody is combed with the same brush, everybody goes through the same motions, everybody contributes to the club. And what we started saying was, within a club, you need to have a mindset that says, there's those that want to play recreationally, and there's those that want to play to win. So in that way, you're also creating healthy competition within your club environment. Now, this differs a lot to what people generally, or what we generally in our sport accepted, because we all say, no, everybody contributes the same subscription fees. Therefore, everybody must get a new sweater or new attire when they're playing, etc. What we're saying is, through our research, that there must be an active nation approach and there must be a winning nation approach in the same club, which means that in that club, you will have people that practice for well-being, people that play for fun, and so on. In that same club, there's those that practice to become the best, there's those that play to win, there's those that belong, that play for a career, there's those that the messaging that takes place is in your face messaging. So you'll see the difference between the two in that same club and how you approach that. So within that club, people are already developing a champion mindset because they want to, all of them want to play where there's a winning nation mentality. At the provincial level, how we approached that was to look at how, together with the federation, we worked and established a high performance center in each of those 16 priority codes. So in terms of developing a champion mindset, we worked with the federation, helped them to put the structure together and looked at how the federation now takes over school sport at a level that would take the youngsters even further than what they do at school. At the national level, what we looked at was, in terms of developing a champion mindset, we deploy experienced coaches and crowd in resources. We give early access to opportunities, exposure, and interventions, develop an accessible, structured, and sustainable system and macro plan that speaks to early exposure. Select a good athlete rather than a good player. Drive home the importance of practice, practice, and more practice. Now, the second last point became critical in terms of our observation, and I speak later about it again. Select a good athlete rather than a good player. Now, again, when you're looking at the champion mindset, particularly at national level, you want the best player at national level. You cannot just go and choose somebody because they're looking like they're a good player. You actually have to choose an athlete because the athlete develops further and faster. So we'll come to that also again slightly later on. Further, with developing a champion mindset at the national level, we saw that constitutions must make provision for the youth. Sport must be coached within a South African context. Acquire the assistance of sport psychologists, because in our country, we have been going through many psychological issues, and that needs to be addressed because it affects the players as they're moving up to play at another level. National federations need to put 4 to 8-year plans together. National squads must be selected at least 1 season in advance. The youth must be exposed to more international participation. And in that, we're saying, why are the youth not playing against neighboring countries? Why aren't we planning, if we're going to play in hot weather, why aren't we planning to go and have our practice sessions in Beaufort West, for instance? Because that's where the weather is hot, and so we try and put them in an environment that's going to be equal to the environment they're going to play their tournaments in. Players need to have a sense of belonging with regards to their country. There needs to be a South African culture. Players must be proud to represent their country. And we found that this wasn't happening generally when we were doing our research. So when we're talking about how we can develop a champion mindset, what is it that we expect, or what is it that we found with regards to facilitators, educators, teachers, coaches? Remembering that all of these people are really educators. Your facilitator, your teacher, your coach are all educators, coaching and educating within a different environment. So what is it that we're looking for? We're looking for somebody that will assist with the socialization of the participant. We're looking for somebody that will assist the participants with psychological, spiritual, and physiological development. And then we're looking for somebody that's going to ensure that the kid looks after their health, their well-being, nutrition, love, attention, support, participation, education, and stimulation. Also, the way the coach needs to be bringing their message across, they need to know the content, they need to have resources, and they need to teach within a particular context. And that context is the important thing that they should be teaching. And so what we started doing with our coaches is to teach them how to teach. And in planning, they need to know how to teach. And so this is the triangle within which they deliver their lesson. With regards to the education, the coach needs to be looking at the physical quotient, the intelligence quotient, the emotional quotient, and the spiritual quotient of the youngster. And so through your sport, you're also teaching them about life and how to survive in life and how to move to another level of life in terms of a championship mentality. And so in that, what the coach starts doing in their teaching methodology is to ask critical questions. And so they're educating from within already for the kid to win. So they ask questions like being a champion, or they make statements like being a champion is a state of mind. So you're addressing the child's IQ. You talk about believe it to achieve it. So you're addressing the child's EQ. You talk about teamwork makes the dream work. You're talking about the spiritual quotient. No pain, no gain. you're talking about the physical quotient. So these are the types of things that you'll be talking to the kid all the time and putting subliminal messaging into the minds and heads of the kid, realizing that they haven't been fed this information as they've been growing up. And so as a coach, we need to start feeding them this type of information. When it comes to the athlete itself or the learner itself, how do you address the championship mindset within this learner? And so these are key words and sentences that one would look at. There's a whole list of them. Do you have the will to win? Have you established a goal? Get your breathing right. You need to have the passion, perseverance. So all of those are words that you find coaches generally use to get youngsters to start developing a champion mindset. When you're looking at 6 key psychological skills that you're going to be addressed, and we spoke about it the previous time I spoke, imagery or visualization, self-talk or meditation, and that self-talk becomes important. So when the kid is out there on the field, when the kid is practicing, they need to talk to themselves all the time. They need to be telling themselves, I must do my best. I must play my best. If you just look at that one quote there, imagine if Tiger Woods kept saying to himself, I hope this doesn't go into the sand trap. If that's what he's going to be doing with self-talk, then he's going to be going into the sand trap every time. So he needs to be talking and motivating himself all the time. And that is what we start teaching the kids. You need to motivate yourself all the time. You need to see where it is that you want to go. You need to see your goal all the time. They need to have if-then statements. And the if-then statements need to be positive statements. There's an example of it. If my heart starts beating fast, then I'll take slow, deep breaths to keep calm. Instead of saying, if I miss this ball, I'm going to miss the goal. If I miss this, that's going to happen. Those are negative statements. So we need to teach them how to put positive statement into their minds. The breathing becomes important. Their breathing, you need to teach them how to control their breathing. Because if you can control your breathing, you control your mind, your what's going on in your head. If you control your breathing, you control your heart rate. So we need to teach them how to breathe. And if we look at all of that in life itself, you need to teach them how to visualize. You need to teach them how to talk to themselves. You need to teach them how to breathe. You need to teach them how to focus. You need to teach them how not to choke. And so if you're teaching them how not to choke, you're actually teaching them how to work with the extrasensory perception. You're teaching them how to work with the intuition. And so in that way, you won't find your South African teams choking, but at the same time, you won't find them choking when they're writing an exam. And these skills must be practiced all the time. It cannot just be by chance that they do it. Or say to them, you must focus, you must focus. You have to teach them how to focus. And in teaching them how to focus, you're teaching them not only a game skill, but also teaching them a life skill. With regards to developing a champion mindset, if you look at a champion mindset, you can't just take somebody off the street and think they're going to be a champion if they're going to train for 10,000 hours. You can train anybody for 10,000 hours. In some cases, it's going to work. In some cases, it's not going to work. That training is only 1/3 of what the person needs. There are 3 elements that every champion, or that you need to become a champion. Those 3 elements are, one is your genetics. And what is your genetic makeup? Which means that what are you inheriting from your parents or from your birth parents? The other is the prevailing environment. What's the environment you find yourself in? And the other is deliberate practice. You also can't just go and practice. You need to have deliberate practice based on what it is that you want to improve. The key to becoming a champion is do what comes naturally. Do it repeatedly and do it with self-belief. Focus on memorization, concentration, diligence, discipline, and perseverance, and be coachable. There are many prima donnas out there, and ultimately they fail because they're not coachable. So it becomes important that we teach our people to become coachable. Again, it is coachable not only on the sport field, but coachable in life. Remembering that we're creating a champion mindset from the community right into the country. So it is not just about playing sport, it's about how do you live life, and how do we turn South Africa around to become the country that we wanted to be through sport. How to amplify your strengths, choose where your natural tendencies are best suited. If the singular, if you have no singular skill, be good at a few things and combine your skills and make the most of your natural attributes. So when you are developing a champion mindset as a country, or when you're developing a champion mindset as a community, we need to be working with our people, assisting them to understand what it is that their skill is. We need to get them to understand if they don't have, they're not majorly skillful in one thing, they've got a lot of smaller skills. And if you combine those smaller skills, it's going to be powerful for them. And so we need people to work on their natural attributes. How do we nurture this? You'll see there it says nurture that which is in your nature. When you focus on your strengths, then you start to find your purpose. And then focus on what matters. When you pick up some of these skills, when you pick up some skills that quicker than others, you learn where to invest your efforts. So as soon as you know what your skills are, so you need to try a range of stuff. And when you know what your skills are, then that's what you focus on. It's going to be time wasting, and we don't have the time for you to engage in stuff that you're not skillful in. If it is that we want to develop a champion mindset as a country, if it is that you want to do things recreationally, that's fine. But don't let that stop you from finding out what is it, what is your skill that you have, what is your purpose in life, and follow that. And follow that by way of practicing that skill and exercising that skill and being a success in life. So when we take that message into the nation, the question is, or the critical questions that we ask ourselves when developing a champion mindset: if we're busy building our country, what is the South African dream? What is the South African culture? What is the South African identity? And what we found is that when we're busy with these youngsters, when we're busy with our research, there's no dream, there's no culture, there's no identity. These guys don't feel anything. They're going out there, they're playing for themselves. They're going out there, they don't have a care in the world around, I'm playing for the badge on my sweater. They don't have a care around, how do I reach out to my teammate who doesn't have the type of resources that I have. They don't have a care about the fact that they're playing for South Africa. They're more admiring the American players or the Canadian players or the Italian players. So what is the South African pulse? What's the heartbeat of South Africa? What makes us different to other countries? What is the South African context? What is the context that we live in? What's our way? What's the message that we want to put out there? Our kids don't know these things. They haven't been brought up in these things. They haven't been groomed. They haven't been socialized in these things. And so how do we develop a champion mindset where these youngsters have the skills, but they have a sense of belonging, and therefore they don't play for themselves, they play for something bigger than themselves. They play for the team, they play for their club, they play for their country, they play for a higher being, but not for themselves. If you're going to play for yourself, you're going to be below par. So how do we get them to develop a champion mindset? And so what I've put together is based on our research, developing a champion mindset. What is the dream, the culture, identity? And that is really to become a winning nation, to become an active nation and to become a winning nation. So do we have that? Are we achieving this? Are we achieving the dream? Our people don't even know that this is what the country has put out, that we need to be striving to create an active and winning nation. Our kids don't know this. Are we teaching our kids this? We might know it, but are we teaching our kids it? So when we're looking at the South African pulse, so what I've put together here is ex-president or late President Nelson Mandela's quotes. And if we live by some of the stuff that our leaders have been telling us that's of a positive nature, then it's right there for us. All we need to do is to start putting it together. And when we did this research, what we looked at, so what is South African saying? What's South African leaders saying? So the African Pulse speaks about peace, Ubuntu, love, sport, education. And it's all covered there in those quotes. if we're looking at developing a champion mindset and the message we put out there, what's the context in which we live and what's the message we're putting out there? And so I've captured this in what it is that we actually talk about, but we don't walk the talk. We talk about it, we don't implement it. Okay? And so we always talk about, you know, we still differentiate between white, black, colored, Indian, etc. When in fact, we need to be talking about humanity. We're talking about this religion, that religion, that religion, when in fact, we need to be talking about love. We're talking about we must throw stones, we must have this, we must have that, when in fact, we need to be talking about peace. Because our Constitution speaks about humanity, our Constitution speaks about love, our Constitution speaks about peace. But we're not using the positives. We're using the Constitution more to win one thing over another thing. And so what is it that we actually need to be doing with our youth, particularly if we're wanting to change the South African mindset? What is it that we must be doing with our youth, particularly if we want them to have a winning mentality and a mentality that's not going to be downtrodden? We need for them to start getting what they have in the subconscious. We need to start getting positive messaging into that. And we had the same conversation the last time I spoke. But I thought it's important that it be addressed again. The importance is that we need for the subconscious to be filled with positive aspects. And in their lives, as they are living, not only on the sports field, but in life itself, what the subconscious feeds the conscious needs to be positive in nature all the time. And so you'll see here, it says in life, receive information with your front brain and park that information in your hindbrain or your conscious mind, and you respond with your hindbrain. In sport, practice with your front brain and play with your hindbrain. Now, if we can start getting the youth to do that, in life, they will respond positively because we put positive stuff in their hindbrain. In sport, they would respond naturally. They would respond naturally and not overthink what it is that they are or that they have to do. And what we find is that in sport particularly, they concentrate on winning. They concentrate on analyzing the shot that they must do. They concentrate on all the detailed stuff, whereas that shouldn't be happening. They shouldn't be concentrating at all, in fact. They should be playing out of their subconscious. They should be playing naturally. They shouldn't be thinking of winning. They should be working at giving their best all the time and beyond their best. They should be pushing the limits all the time. If they're going to be thinking of winning, they're actually going to lose because now they're putting pressure on themselves. If they're thinking about giving their best and working their hardest, then they're going to be pushing all the time. And in that way, they are bringing the information of their subconscious into their conscious. And the same thing in life itself also. They need to be bringing as a natural consequence the information from the conscious to the subconscious. So if you look at this here, you'd see you become what you feed your mind. If you're going to feed your mind drama, bad news, negativity, that is the type of person you're going to be. If you're going to be feeding your mind positivity, discipline, dreams, then that is what, and that this in fact signifies to me exactly what is happening in our country at this point in time. And so you can decide which face is it that you want in terms of having a champion mindset or having a failed mindset. And so clearly to me, you want to have discipline, you want to have dreams, you want to have positivity. And that's the information we must be feeding our kids. And so in terms of the environment that we find ourselves in, the current environment is crime, chaos, confusion, corruption, complex lifestyles, complicated things happening, and COVID. And how do we get our youngsters to move out of that? What is it that we feed into their heads? What is required in the environment? We need to research. We need to be relevant. We need to be real. We need to be radical in what we do because we must be changing mindsets. We need to be resourceful. We need to be reliable. We need to be there for our youngsters all the time. We cannot one day come and then don't come. And we need to be resilient and we need to teach them resilience. And so in terms of our implementation strategies, a futurist by the name of Joel Arthur Barker wrote, "Vision without action is merely a dream. Action without vision just passes the time. Vision with action can change the world." And so we need to be teaching our youngsters, you know, you can't just have dreams. You actually have to put your dreams into action. You have to do something about it. And as coaches, exactly the same thing. We need to be helping our youngsters to dream. We need to be helping our youngsters acting out, and so that together we can change the world. Muhammad Ali made the statement, champions aren't made in gyms. Champions are made from something they have deep inside them, a desire, a dream, a vision. They have to have the skill and the will, but the will must be stronger than the skill. And that's exactly what I said earlier. You cannot just have the skill. You actually must have the will. You actually must have the passion to push yourself further. And that is what's going to drive you as a champion. And if we had that will to change in our country, the mindsets of our people, if we had the will to take people, to assist people to get out of the poverty that they're in, if we had the will to do things differently so that we stop hurting as a nation and we stop blaming as a nation, but in fact, we move together and work with each other, believing in something higher and bigger than ourselves, then we pull ourselves and our country out of the quagmire that we find ourselves in currently. So it becomes more and more important that we work together. And so in terms of developing that, we need to have the 5 Bs that I've called it. So here we're talking about the implementation of the 5 Bs. The first thing is believe. And in that belief, you need to trust yourself, trust your coaches, trust your team, your country, or higher being. You need to give your best all the time, act with passion, act with commitment, act in the now. Don't bring the history with you. Don't bring the fact that you failed in the game with you earlier and now you're going to mess up your whole game going forward. You need to realize you have to put that behind you. You can't do anything about it. Do something about it now. Same thing in life. If you've failed before in something, that's not the end of the world. Know where you are now and give your best for where you are now. Be brave. There's no place for fear. There's no place for hesitation. There's no place for self-doubt. You need to be brave. You need to get going. You need to get up. You need to pull up your socks and you need to move forward. The fourth B is the ball. And so I'm using ball metaphorically as well as literally. So if your focus is on the ball, you know what they always say, don't take your eye off the ball. And in life is exactly the same thing. Don't take your eye off the ball. You take your eye off the ball, then you're going to lose focus. When you lose focus, you're not going to reach your goal. You're not going to reach your goal means you haven't established a champion mindset. So keep your eye on the ball. Don't focus on anything else but the ball. Don't see the opposition. Don't hear the spectators. Stay focused on the ball. And we, you know, in all of this research that we've done that I'm actually sharing with you, that's exactly what we did. We were being nailed from all sides. People accused us of all types of things. We kept our eye on the ball. 7 to 10 years later, I can share the research with you. The mod program is in place. The neighboring school program is in place. The recreation programs are in place because we kept our eye on the ball despite what people try to do and say. And then ultimately, your breathing becomes important. Through all of this, you need to breathe. You need to calm yourself down, fill your lungs with oxygen, fill your blood with oxygen, fill your brain with oxygen. Keep breathing. And if you can control your breathing, you'll control your life. So that's me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hendricks, for a topic well presented. Can you guys hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, lovely. Okay, great stuff. I think sometimes as coaches we don't actually realize, you know, the huge responsibility we have, you know, when actually coaching our kids and also young people in particular. You know, we are not only teaching a specific sport and the skills that come along with that, but we're actually preparing kids for their life journey as well. You know, so that there shouldn't be any negative methods in terms of coaching. So in terms of questions, we will reserve all the questions till later on. After the second presenter, which is Mark Williams. But before I hand over to Mark, let me just introduce everyone to Mark that doesn't know Mark yet. He's got a very long history and a long profile, so just bear with me. When I asked Mark to send me his profile, I was expecting like a 10-pager, but he did a really good job and actually sent me a half a page, which is awesome. Okay, so yeah, just a bit of history with that. I mean, some of us actually know Mark for a long time, but we don't actually know much about Mark's own history as well. So just quickly, it'll probably take about 2 minutes. All right, so Mark started playing volleyball in 1985. So let me just share my screen while I'm talking. Just a second. Okay. All right, so Mark started playing volleyball in 1985 at the age of 25, mainly because his wife Estelle wanted to play as well. She was encouraged by two neighbors, namely Solmore and the late Sammy Dick. I think Sammy Dick played Western Province Schools volleyball with Luton back in the day. So they joined the Hurricanes Volleyball Club based at the Hendricks Civic Center. His first coach was Denzel Fodder, and he played in the men's 5th team. Nowadays we struggle to get a second team going, but that time they had a 5th team. His second coach was Sean Henry, whom we're eternally grateful for giving freely off their time on a Sunday morning at Sunflake, where he learned the skills of volleyball. Most of the teammates were 10 years younger than him. So Mark quickly realized that he wasn't going to do well at playing the game. And I think also being 30 at that stage is going to be tough. Yeah, so in 1990, he stopped playing and he focused on coaching. In his first year of coaching, he realized that he was coaching the wrong age groups. He realized that one cannot start coaching a player at 18 or 19 years old who has just matriculated and has discovered boyfriends. Okay, so I think Mark obviously just focused on teaching the females. He reasoned that you are not going to achieve much because they have too many distractions. Estelle and Mark then started the South Peninsula Volleyball Club in 1998, and the focus was on young players aged between 10 and 16 years old. In 2003, they won the league, Western Province League, with a group of players that were groomed at a club. Well done, Mark. Mark attended his first coaching clinic in 1995 at an interprovincial tournament in Bloemfontein, conducted by our very own Keith Powell. After that, he was inspired to work harder to produce more new faces to the game. He was selected to attend the FIBB Level 1 Coaches Course in 1998, which was held in Johannesburg. Over the past 20 years, Mark coached various interprovincial teams in different age groups with reasonable success. In Mark's own words, his biggest success was to have coached players from beginners to interprovincial level and then national and international level. For Mark, the most rewarding feeling is to sit in front of the television and watching players that he and Estelle assisted to get to that level, and to know that they played a part in changing the life path and character of these individuals. Okay, on that note, I hand you Mark Williams, who will present the topic, basic skill acquisition, movement and serving. Mark, all yours, all the best.
Good evening, everybody. My topic is movement, and I'll start off with a few videos first, and then I'll go into the skill coaching. Okay. So the first video. Can everybody see that? Everybody see that?
Not yet.
Can everybody see my page?
No, not it. Let me share your screen. There we go.
Okay, so as I said, my topic is movement. And just before we start the video, I just want to say that the importance of coaching. When you coach any skill for a beginner, it's important that they master that skill. Specifically in the case of volleyball, the movement skill that we use is a side shuffle and forward and back shuffle. And I'll play the video now and then you can see. Okay, we're focusing on the goalkeeper. Okay, I'll stop at photo there. Now, in the volleyball context, we do side shuffling. So we will move, in the case with this guy, in volleyball, we would have moved our left leg to the left. He's moving his left leg to the right. So you'll see the significance in the following videos. Okay. Okay, so this goalkeeper was never taught how to side shuffle. It's not in him, it's not in his DNA. This is a Spanish goalkeeper. He's currently ranked probably the top 10 in the world. Okay, he's freezing there in preparation for the oncoming ball. Okay, you can see he didn't side shuffle at all. His first step was away from the ball. I'll show that again. Watch his feet, his legs. Okay, you see his first step was the other way, away from the ball.
The three red white shirts get stuck there. Felipe runs into his team.
I'm forwarding it again.
Arush Lucy slays it in. Keeper side the breaks. Gordon gets a touch. And he shoots.
Okay, what's the keeper stance? He's up straight. His legs are a bit too wide. It's wider than shoulder width. And he doesn't shuffle. Okay, again, you see his first step is towards the opposite leg instead of towards the ball. Okay, I'll move on to the next video.
Brown. Kaczynski. Oh, Davis, he's in!
Why are you doing that? Okay, this goalkeeper, Edwin van der Sar, He's a Dutch goalkeeper. And his second sport during the off-season was volleyball. So compare his foot movement, his leg movement to the previous goalkeeper. Okay, his legs are never wide apart, which allows him to move in different directions when he needs to. His stance is always small. His legs are never more than shoulder width apart. It allows him to move left and right easily. Okay, I'll just fast forward and you can see the shuffling ability. There's a section coming up now where you can see his footwork clearly. What's the picture so? There's one section they show from the back, and you can clearly see the way he shuffles his legs. Okay, you can see there on that one, he's led with the correct leg when he went for that ball. I'll stop it there. You can see he's already moved his left leg towards the left. Okay. All right. So when you're coaching youngsters any skill, it's important that they master that skill, because if they don't master a section of that skill, it's going to carry them on into their professional life. Like what David here, you can see he's got absolutely no idea what the side shuffle is compared to Edwin van der Sar. Okay, so I've jotted down a few notes here before we go on to the next video about the movement. I need to scroll this thing. I need to scroll up. Okay, it's very important when coaching beginners for digging and volleying that during the side to side and front to back movement is that players move their front leg first when moving forward and move their back leg first when moving back in whichever direction they need to go. When moving from side to side, moving left, the left leg moves first, moving right, the right leg moves first for the shuffling. This is what I do with my players. In defense, when playing on the left side of the court, the left leg stays in front and the right leg stays, and moving back, the right leg moves first. The side leg stays in front. Thus, just make sure that when contact happens, the ball is more likely to move into the middle of the court. Your stance during the execution of your technique, your feet must not be more than shoulder width apart. This allows you to move towards the ball, whether it is forward, back, side to side. If the stationary stance is too wide, the player will not be able to execute the next step and will then have to move the incorrect leg, which will throw them out of balance. Okay, so I'm going to move to the next video.
The Chinese are known for their pinpoint passing, outstanding defense, and multiple attack options. Their style is that of constant defensive pursuit in the backcourt, along with quickness and misdirection at the net. They seem to move effortlessly on the court and at times make playing the game appear easy. The fundamental movement training for volleyball is the shuffle step. It plays a key role in the development of passing.
Okay, I'll just pause that. I want you to watch the leading leg. Whichever direction she goes, she moves that leg first.
And defensive skills. Here we see the side shuffle and also the forward and backward shuffle being performed.
Okay, the next one.
In this video, we're going to look at various ways to get your players moving while being on the court. So many young players are very uncomfortable moving quickly to the ball and then making a good play. So this is a series of drills that's been put together with the idea of being early in the club season, and we just want to get people moving to the ball. So this is just a simple run-through drill where they're moving at 45 degrees and moving forward to make a nice play in the ball. A couple points of emphasis. You want to run to the ball first and then get your arms out to play the ball. So many players, especially, again, younger players, they tend to run with their arms already extended. So bend your elbows and run to the ball. And as you get ready to play the ball, then you'll extend out and make a good play. Notice how these players are rotating their hips back to the middle of the court. So even though they're
Just also notice these players that's moving down the line, when they play the ball, when they contact the ball, they're facing the center of the court, which means on the left, their left leg is in front, and on the right, their right leg's in front.
moving forward, they're going to finish back to the middle. Kind of the same theme in terms of just moving on the court. This is more of a shuffle step drill. And the coach has to have some skill here as well in terms of setting a tempo for the drill that forces the players to move quickly, but not so much where they break form. So this is just make sure they shuffle step.
I touched the next one.
Off speed attacks. Another movement drill more in a defensive mode here. And the coach entering the second ball is the one that has to have good skill and ball control. The first ball is hit right at the defender. The second ball, we want the defender moving laterally, playing the ball at the midline if they can, and making sure that the ball is hit quick enough and hard enough where they have to move quickly, but not so quick and so hard, again, that their form breaks down. So we want them shuffle stepping. We want them playing the ball at their midline. And pretty much the onus is on the second coach to make sure that that happens. Similar theme, just kind of a different movement here where we're going from center back to the sideline. And again, the second coach has to be able to control the ball where the defender moves quickly, gets to the sideline, and just kind of shuffles through that second ball. So the timing of the second ball makes or breaks this drill. You want to maintain a good posture. So as we continue on, again, with the theme being moving, we're going to get into a situation where you have two coaches hitting, and you'll see as this drill progresses, the first responsibility is to dig the deep line shot, and then you move quickly forward and dig the cross-court shot. So the coach will hit two balls, one down the line, and then one cross-court, and the players has to defend both balls. So it's a pretty simple drill, but again, you want the players moving. So, from an up position on defense, they drop quickly, dig the line shot, and then they move quickly back up.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next one. Okay, there's a couple of notes that I jotted down. The importance of knowing when to move and when to stop. No movement during contact. In other words, when you are in defensive mode, and the opposite team, the player goes up to spike, you should be settled in your position, standing still, waiting to move to the ball only and not anticipate where the ball is going to go. Once the player executes the spike, your body will move towards the ball. Another video.
Volleyball is a game of movement, agility, quickness. You know, you have to jump, you have to move in the air, you have to land. You're tracking the ball coming at you and form passing. So there's a lot of motor skills that I believe have to be developed, and you can't necessarily rely on the game itself to develop those skills. So this is a video where players just go through a sequence of drills that emphasize moving, posture, a rhythm to the game. So they're very simple things, but I think they're items that need to be addressed in the overall development of the athletic skills of the athlete. Here they're moving in a prescribed foot pattern, and they have to move in a rhythm with a clap. You know, so many volleyball players, for lack of a better term, they don't play the game with any tempo or rhythm. So we put them in a number of situations where they develop a rhythm to their body movements. So in this situation, they have to move their feet, they have to go to the rhythm of the clap, and it gets the athlete moving and you know, developing a rhythm to the game. Here they're jumping and doing 180s in the air. And again, I think so much of the game is played with the feet off the ground, and the athlete has to be comfortable moving their body in the air. And we also pay very close attention to how they land to make sure they're landing softly. Here's a very simple drill that's fun for the athletes, but you know, what are we doing? There's a strength component, so they're, in essence, they're doing push-ups here, but they're developing a sense of postures as well. They go from a high posture, drop to a low posture, then back up to a high posture, a little bit of a jumping component. You know, so again, we're teaching them to move and get down low, play the game of high, just doing 90-degree turns in the air. So many athletes, they don't do very well. Same type of thing we want creates a lot of the game of volleyball. Here, you know, just some baby jumps, but the priority is getting them to coordinate their arms, their legs, so they're using their arms to jump, which, you know, so many athletes, they don't do very well. Same type of thing, we want them using their arms, and they're just doing 90-degree turns in the air to a rhythm. And again, I think this is a part of the game that as coaches we have to pay attention to, and don't assume that the athlete can do naturally. You know, a major component of the game is the ability to run on a volleyball court. You run balls down like we are here. You run when you block. You run when you do hitting approaches. You know, so sometimes you practice running, and it's all they're doing here now is running and catching the ball. You know, this will progress to, as you see here, they're running, and now they're playing the ball, which is a little bit more game related, where they're having to change postures and get down a little bit lower, but they're pursuing a ball. A very simple drill that you see here, again, it incorporates running, where they have to, you know, run and set. And, you know, this is something they do a million times in a game, but from my observation, they don't do it well. They tend to reach and lunge, and we want them to work on just running and then having to perform a skill. Again, trying to work on postures here and playing the game in a lower posture. They're strictly shuffle stepping, they're dropping their hips, ball has to stay under the net. And a lot of these players are tall players, they're over 6 feet, but there's no reason that tall players shouldn't be able to play the game in a low posture. So all this is doing is developing a sense of posture and leg strength to get down in this posture. So one might say, well, this never happens in a game, it's not a game-related drill, but in essence it is. In a game, you have to be able to shuffle and move your feet and play the game in a low posture. So this
okay, I'm going to pause this one and move on to the next one. The next one is probably the most important one for volleyball players. It's directional moving, and it's the 8 positions that we find ourselves in on the court, and it shows how most comfortably we get into those positions. The first thing we're going to work on
is passing. The most important thing is to establish your ready position. Knees are bent, back is round with weight slightly forward and evenly distributed with a solid base of support. Arms are shoulder width apart with thumbs up. Feet are straight or slightly turned in. Hips are facing the target. It's really important to try to catch common errors that happen when passing, especially with new learners. So first thing is their weight is back. They could be basketball players. Their feet are out and their arms are really wide. Okay, so we always want to have their feet straight or in, either one, arms shoulder width apart, and their heels could be up because their weight is always forward so they can move. Perfect. A second common error, especially for a new learner, is to have them start in with hands super wide and palms down. Okay, it takes a long time for them to be able to do this and turn their hands in. So I always tell them, keep your thumbs up, arms are in, they're able to play the ball. On defense, especially since we're at a lower position, a lot of times players cross their feet, which gets them in a position they can't play the ball. So if Martha's down low on defense and I want her to move the ball to the left, show me how you would cross your feet to get there. The minute she crosses her feet, we get in a position where she can't react to the ball in a different direction. So instead, we want her to shuffle, keeping her feet apart. First thing we're going to work on is our star drill. So let's get in our ready position.
Okay, this drill is good for all ages. And when new players walk into your club, this is a perfect drill for them. After you show them how to shuffle, this is an 8-point drill, which basically covers all the positions that you're going to find yourself in on the court.
Go. Perfect, nice job. So a couple key things when we're doing our shuffle movements, especially moving in all directions, which is great about the star drill, is keeping our feet always split. So go back to your ready position. Every time they move left to right, your feet always stayed split. Okay, that's really important. So let's try it one more time. Ready? Go. Even feet. Nice, relax. Excellent, that looks great. A couple other things is as you guys did the star drill, you all sit at the same height. Okay, you want to make sure your players are always staying at the same height, tracking the ball at the same height, no bobbing up and down. Weight evenly distributed as you move back and forth. So extending the star drill is great to increase their range. So we start off with one shuffle. Now we're going to do 2 shuffles. Go. Step in the direction. Hips to target. Excellent. Nice.
Okay, basically the next part of that video is they're going to do 3 and 4 steps. So that's my end to my presentation of the movement. We're going to move on to teaching of serving for beginners. Okay, we'll first start with the underarm serve.
All right, we're going to focus right now on underhand serving. Is everybody here right-handed? No lefties? Okay, lefty, excellent, very good. Okay, we'll start first since most of us are right-handed. We'll start with that. You're going to hold the ball in your left hand. You're going to hold the ball down low, kind of in your mid-thigh range. All right, your right hand, you're going to make a fist, and you're going to hold your arm back, making sure that your thumb is on the side of your fist because you want to contact the ball with the front part of this fist here, okay? So the ball is nice and low. Our shoulders are forward, and you're going to hit the ball out of your hands. This left hand is just holding the ball. It's not tossing it. It's not throwing it. It's holding it. All right. And you're going to nice and gentle go ahead and hit it while your motion and your momentum is going forward. So your arm stays straight, and Lexi's going to help me here by being a nice straight arm, sort of like a pendulum. And it's going to hit it, and it's going to go right to your partner. Try that. Beautiful. Okay. All right. Everybody give that a try. So my weight is forward and I'm freezing forward to my partner. Okay, go ahead and do that a few times back and forth. Good. All right, where's my lefty here? Okay, that's okay. All right, now you're holding it in your right hand. All right, by your left thigh, arm is straight, and you're doing the same thing. Hitting it out. Oh, no, you're right. You're right. Your feet were right. Yeah. All right, and then you're just swinging and hitting it out. So it's, everything's the same, just opposite. So where's your left? Where's your, so you're gonna hold it low, shoulders are forward. Okay, good, and hit it out. Excellent, very good. Okay, we didn't talk a lot about our feet, but we do wanna make sure that we only transfer our weight from our back foot to our front foot. We don't need to take a lot of steps. We don't need to take any steps, really. We're just stepping forward.
Okay, I just want to stop this video here and explain how I coach the underarm serve. First of all, I don't allow the players to hit with their knuckles or their fists like they're doing here, because it gives them a false sense of power. The power should not come out of a hard surface like the hand, knuckles, or the fist. The power should come out of the body. So my method of coaching the underarm serve first is to do it like a softball pitch. So you ask the player to hold the ball in their hand, take the ball back, swing the arm back behind him, and take the hip with him, and then rotate the hip forward and throw the ball. So it's like a softball pitch, so that they get the power gets generated out of the body, not the hardness of the hand. Okay, we move on to the next video. Mm-hmm.
Serving that you can do at home. I taped off the height of the net when I was small on our garage door, so it's 7'4 1/4. You can just put a mark or a piece of tape up there to help your kids practice how high a net would be, and it's 30 feet back. If you want to practice actual length of a volleyball court, you can mark off on the sidewalk or something 30 feet back. But for young kids, it's important that they learn the right technique. So you don't want to start at 30 feet back. You can start at 10 feet, and as they get consistent with that, keep working their way backwards until they can hit that net height from the 30 feet back. So the most important thing in serving is your toss. And the ideal toss is about the same height that you would reach, not much higher and definitely not much lower. But a lot of the mistakes come from when kids toss it super high and have too much time to think about what they're going to do. So I say it's more of a lift than a toss. And you're stepping with your non-dominant foot at the time you toss. So it's a step toss, or the keyword that I like to use a lot is your stoss. So they're first going to practice their stosses, and they're going to let the ball land. And ideally, it should be landed just a little bit out in front of them after they've taken that step. So after you've practiced your stoss and you feel comfortable and consistent with it, you want to start swinging or serving at the ball. So you want to hit the ball with the medius part of your hand. You don't want to hit with the fingers. You're not going to get much leverage. So you really want to contact on the back of the ball, a little bit behind the ball for younger kids, and with the medius part of your hand. And once the ball leaves your contact, you really want to finish with your palm facing exactly where you want it to go. A lot of kids will swing just to swing and not have any direction in it, but you want to have your stoss, your contact, and your frozen point exactly where you want it to go in front of you.
Display.
We're going to go over some of the fundamentals of a float serve. And we're going to start with...
Okay, this is very important. It's the technical explanation of the way the serve should occur.
The standing float serve, and we've got Megan here to help us with a good demonstration of it. First off, we're going to look on how we line up. We've got her in a what I would call a tall athletic position, and she's got herself comfortably relaxed but tall. Notice that she's got her right foot back and her left foot forward, and she's facing as if she's going to serve straight down the line. One thing that's really important is our alignment. We want to act like we're serving down a hallway. Everything we're going to do is going to be going down that hallway. So she's kind of got that hallway going straight down the line right now. She's going to be in this position here. You're ready to serve. She's going to go ahead and put the ball out in front of her. And one of the first things she's going to do is she's going to be looking right over the top of the serve, the ball. That's what kind of the height of her arm we want. She's going to be in this position. She's going to pull her arm back before she tosses the ball. Megan does a great job of having her elbow back and high. Notice it's above her shoulder. Nice and simple body position here. comfortably relaxed. She's going to take from this position, she's going to go ahead and she's going to toss and take a step. Go ahead and take a step. When she tosses this ball, it's not going to be very high. It's going to be looking to come down around her foot here. So go ahead and back up for a second. She's going to go ahead and pull your arm back. Get ready. Go ahead and toss and step. Notice that she's trying to figure out exactly where that toss will go down. Come on and do it again. It's a little far back. Good. So she wants to be in that position. The second thing to notice is that when we toss this ball, we don't have her toss real high. We want to not use much lower body. We see a lot of this with young players that want to use their lower body to toss. We want to use our fine motor skills in our arm here to toss. And we don't need to toss the ball very high in order to be successful. Good. So go ahead and back. Get ready. Pull your arm back. So this toss, you toss it, go ahead and contact it. Notice that it's a little bit out in front of her body, but her body's in a kind of an upright position. And so we don't want to have this back over our head. When she takes, go ahead and position one again. When she steps, the key is to have only a moderate sized step. So the toss and step is very important in serving. Go ahead and go back again. So here she's going to pull her arm back. You're going to toss. Her step is going to be with her left foot, and it's only moderate size. We often see with younger players, they want to take a lot of steps thinking they're adding power. We have plenty of ability, plenty of power with good contact without taking a big step. When we start adding steps to it, our body starts twisting. It's very difficult to get our hand to go straight through the ball. Go ahead, back, toss, arm back. We talk about that. We want our hand to go straight through the ball in this manner. This is how we create a float serve. We also want to go straight through the ball in this manner. So any motion we have back and forth with our arm, our hand will go through the ball in different directions. Real important to go straight through it. So we try to keep everything we can simple and right along the line. One, pull back, good. Toss, good. Boom, here's good contact spot, nice and high. Now she's got to contact this with a firm wrist and with the palm of her hand. Notice that her palm's kind of flat and going straight down that area towards the area she's serving, and it's stiff. Go ahead and rest for a second. One of the things I think players do is they tend to break their wrist or have their hand a little bit too relaxed. We want it comfortably stiff, and we want our hand comfortably open. We don't want to make it too stiff. We don't want to make it too small. A good contact point right on our palm. One, pull it back. Good. Toss it. Good. We want to contact this clean. Let the ball go and then have our arm come down. So we want to be careful that we're not swinging through it like we're spiking, that we actually have a real clean contact. Another reason you can see, go ahead and toss it. When we're stepping and swinging, we're actually flattening our arc of our arm to make sure we're going through the ball. That step and the swing all makes us go through the ball in a flat line. After that, after we contact, the hand should come down straight, nice and relaxed to the side. The body position should maintain facing where we're serving.
Okay, second last video. This is just about creating as much power as you can when you're going to serve the ball.
Okay, good evening everybody. This is part of my demonstration as to how to teach torque during a hit or during a spike. Basically, it's to teach the players to hit a bit harder, much harder. Sorry, we could have get a gym to do this demonstration because it's locked down. So my daughter Andy is going to assist us, okay? So basically what you want to teach the kids when as they get bigger and you want them to serve a bit harder is to serve with their whole body and not only with their arm. So Randy's going to demonstrate to us. Okay, so this is the take back. They take the arm back to hit the ball. So what I normally do is I hold their hand and then I ask them to rotate the hips forward. So if you're pulling on the arm here, you're showing them, you're introducing the torque. And the more they twist that hip forward there, and you let go, you'll see the arm goes automatically. So if we do that again, so introduce twisting the hip, and then let go the arm. Let's do that one more time. Okay, hip back first, bring the hip back first, and twist it forward. Okay, thank you.
Okay. I've got one more video to play, which actually accentuates that demonstration I did now, but unfortunately our time is up. Yusuf?
Yeah, your time is up, Mark, but it's a very interesting topic. But, yeah, I guess these things it's you can't always like get everything in a short slot like this. You probably need more time, but yeah, I think the time is up now. It's 9 o'clock. We did start 10 minutes late. Doesn't necessarily mean we're gonna finish 10 minutes late. But I think maybe just a few more minutes just for questions as well, and comments from the audience. Yeah. So we can open up. There are some. I see there's some comments here in the chat here as well. So maybe we can start there quickly. Yeah. Okay. So we got Luyanda made a comment here. Nice topic. Thanks very much with such an informative session. I also wish we could have more workshops with facilitators, teachers, and coaches about these kinds of things. I think that comment was made against Paul Hendricks' topic. Paul, do you maybe want to respond to that?
Yeah, look, I agree with Leandro. How we want to do it is another thing. I see Claude Meyer and Lute and Ishmael and them is here. They're the experts in school sport, and so maybe we should arrange how we can convey that messages to the teachers and coaches. I really think that South Africa is in a situation currently where we need to do something with regards to the holistic education of our youth.
Yeah.
And if we can create platforms for that, I'm prepared to speak anywhere, anytime. Because the sooner we start feeding positive information into the youth, the better. And not just the youth. I mean, even our older coaches. They say you're never too old to learn, and I firmly believe that. I'm still learning. I mean, I learned today again, more about Zoom than what I knew before. Yeah, I can even hold a Zoom meeting now on my own, thanks to Yusuf. So, but my point is, anybody can learn if you open yourself up to learn. And so we even going to have to struggle with coaches because some of them don't open themselves up to learn. They know it all. So if we work together, I cannot see why not. I see Fuzan Sibrits also on the webinar.
Yeah.
Same thing. We must get more of the Fuzans and the Lutes on, because these guys are leaders in their codes. And if we have more of these guys on, then we can interact some more with each other. There was just one comment on the chat I saw, which was Elmine.
Yeah.
That was saying about the academy system. Yeah. Now, I'm not sure. I never spoke about the academy system, and I'm hoping that Elmine is not implying that the sports school is an academy system, because the sports school is certainly not, in my mind, an academy system. Because the sports school started off initially in the first year or two as to what we wanted. But when the education department got more involved, they shifted the sporting activities to after school hours. And that became the failing of an academy mentality. Initially, we used to train in the mornings, you do your fitness and stamina and things in the mornings, and then you work during the school day, and then you worked after the school day. So if we're going to have that type of approach, then that's also a good system. But if you're going to have it the way we ended with the sports school, then it's not going to work. On the other hand, we must ask ourselves as a country, can we afford to have that type of system? If it's costing us 10 million plus to educate 350 kids, of which a quarter of that kids dropped out or didn't get involved in their code that they went in with in the first place, as opposed to that same 10 million, and you can have a pool of more than 1,000 or 2,000 kids, and come up with the same results. I mean, I just look, our test case was the sports school versus Lavender Hill High School. and we got similar results, you know, and now 10 years later, we've got a lot more results. And the good thing is that all of those youngsters that get trained in the community structures or in the neighborhood, those youngsters go back into their neighborhood and they grow their neighborhood. At the sports school, you didn't have that. They had youngsters up and out. They didn't go back to their neighborhood and take it back. They, in fact, went to play for other clubs. And that was the failing of it. So that's why we need to do things. People talk about the success of the Chinese and how they run the academies. We don't have a Chinese economy. We don't have a Chinese culture. So we need to do things within our culture. That's the only way we're going to grow. And firstly, we need to develop a culture, because we don't have a South African culture. You know, we have some cultures here, but we don't have a South African culture. And we need to start establishing that.
I mean, I see you unmuted yourself. Do you want to say something?
Yeah, no, look, we don't have time. I don't think we're, you know, we already out of time. So, yes, what I probably want to say is going to take a little bit too long. So, of course, I'm not in disagreement with what Paul is saying with regards to the culture issues and you know, the problems experienced with the sports school and the I think that it's for decades, and I always commented, and for me it was such a wonderful thing to or at least I saw it as, you know, from the mod programs working to the sports school, which was a focus school, and the neighborhood system. So the presentation that he obviously had now is a bit different to what I saw a few years ago. And so that's why I'm not going to comment too much, because there's a few things differently. But what I basically wanted to say was, and he started off basically by answering the question, that the sports school wasn't an academy, which I then would not see a reason to go any further. It was a little, in my opinion, then it was still seen as different to a neighborhood system because it was more focused and there was more support given as far as, you know, almost as a high performance program. And so my comments was based on the fact that it was basically run as a high performance program. So, but there's no time. I don't want to rush into things. So we can always have another chat around this.
Yeah, no, sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Just answer my question, please.
Yeah, so I think Luther had a question for you, Mark. So do you think the players must shuffle to the back or run back and keep their eye on the ball to get quicker to their position?
In my experience, I prefer my players to side shuffle backwards. It's easier to change direction. If you used to playing opposite the spiker that's hitting the ball hard, you know, when the ball is set to that spiker, you need to shuffle back. Then the spiker half hits the ball, and then you have to change direction and run forward. It's much easier to do that when you're shuffling than when you're running. Okay, that's my answer.
Cool, thanks, Mark. I just wonder, is there any other questions from the audience? Maybe you want to ask a question using your mic. Sandra, you look like you have a question.
Just if no one else, Yusuf, just on that comment that Mark just made, I again just maybe another side to the combination of movement skills is, for me, I find that there's in certain times in the game situation that running back is required. You know, that so I always make sure that I teach a combination of running back, shuffling back, both left, right side, and obviously keeping your eye on the ball. But just my comment, I would say that there's times where you'll need that you would need either shuffling back or running back.
Yeah,
almost like a beach volleyball movement.
Yeah, especially like the touch of the block that goes over the back player, then you have to almost run as fast as you can to get the ball. Shuffling is not going to do it for you. You're going to have to just run as fast as you can to get the ball. Just a comment from my side in terms of the movement. I know Mark and Albi in particular, they have a lot of experience having worked with kids for many years, coaching kids. And I think I like the one comment that Mark made about if you think about the volleyball as well, the only thing that you actually touch in the game is the actual ball. Other than that, then basically the point is dead and you're not doing anything. So the only other thing that you actually do touch besides the ball is what is the floor. Right, so in terms of the power actually comes from the floor into your body, and from there you basically generate power. So teaching youngsters, you need to teach them to obviously use their body, but starting from the ground up. And I think there's a lot of fundamental things across many sport codes that kind of, goes across many sport codes in terms of the fundamental teachings of any sport. I mean, Mark mentioned the example of softball, using that technique, and that technique comes into the fore as well when it comes to spiking and serving. Similar techniques that are there. So it's teaching the kids to use their body as opposed to using the example like Mark mentioned, the fist, or then the power doesn't come from there. So, besides just the body, also the floor as well. Use the floor to generate a lot of power. Use the floor for jumping when we spike, but we can use the floor for passing and doing other things as well. Okay.
I got one more
Any
comment.
other questions, comments? Yeah, Mark?
I got a comment. I'm just disappointed I didn't wear my Manchester United jacket.
Yeah, I don't know why you use the here as an example there for bad goal, for bad movement there.
We must sell him, we must get rid of him. Yeah. Or he must come to me, I'll teach him how to shuffle.
Yeah, okay. Anything else, people? Any comments? Feel free to comment. Okay. I think we've obviously gone, we actually on the 1.5 hour mark, but we obviously started 10 minutes late. But yeah, just quickly in conclusion, I'm going to keep you much longer. I can see Eden is tired already. Eden, are you okay? All right, so just quickly, just a word of thanks. Obviously, we have to thank the Department of Culture, Tourism and Sport, for collaborating with Western Cape Volleyball Association in doing these webinars online. And obviously, in particular, Mr. Paul Hendricks, Director of Sport Development, and Mr. Claude Meyer, who's also present this evening, the Deputy Director in the Sport Development Unit at TPAS. We want to thank our two presenters this evening for taking the time to prepare for this evening's topics. I know it does take time out of your daily schedule to prepare for this as well. So we want to thank Mr. Hendricks again for delivering a very important topic this evening, developing a champion mindset from community to country. And of course, we want to thank Mark as well for sharing some of his 30 years of coaching experience, his topic movement and serving, especially movement in one of the most important aspects when coaching young kids. And then, of course, we also want to thank all the coaches and everyone that tuned in this evening. You are all fortunate to have the responsibility of coaching our kids and juniors. So thank you for tuning in this evening, and all the best with growing the game one dig at a time, one spike at a time. Okay, last but not least, we want to thank all the Western Cape Volleyball Association ISCO members for making these webinars happen as well. Thanks to you guys. Just quickly, in terms of next week, our next webinar will be a week from now on Wednesday again, the 12th of August at 7:30, starting at 7:30 again. And the two topics that will be presented will be, the first one will be life skills in sport, and in particular volleyball. And that will be presented by Ismail Taladia. And then the second topic will be basic skill acquisition, the spike. Okay, so that brings us to the end of this evening's webinar. Remember to take care now during this period when we are experiencing a surge in the number of people being infected and affected by the coronavirus. Okay. And I think perhaps before I say bye, I think perhaps everyone, we all know what happened in Lebanon, in Beirut. Perhaps just, keep them in our prayers that, we get through this difficult time in Lebanon. So on that note, take care, stay safe until we meet again next week. Ciao, ciao.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Night.
Night,
Night,
everyone.
Night, Mark.
Thanks.
Good one, everyone.
Thank you.
I see you. Okay.
Ja. Ja, sinds ik kan nooit.
So no.